Right, hi everyone. I think we're just about on the hour, so we might get started as our final few people are still joining us. And welcome to today's webinar, which is an introduction to dashboards in Totara. I'm Rachel Griffith-Boyes. I'm Head of Community Services at Totara, and today we are really lucky to have Jordan Ash presenting to us all about dashboards. Totara is very lucky to have Jordan as our site administrator for our Totara community site. So Jordan is very familiar with setting up dashboards and has got lots of tips and tricks and exciting things to share with us all today. Just before we get started, for those of you who aren't already Totara community members, the community is a hub for you to come and connect and learn about how to better develop your people and get the most out of your Totara platform. So along with webinars like this one, we've got I think well over 100 courses now on a variety of topics relating to Totara products, but also best practice in the learning and development space. There are forums and workspaces where you can connect with other people working in similar roles and similar organisations. And best of all, it's free to join. So do sign up if you aren't already a member via totara.community. And this webinar will be shared as a recording on the community either later today or tomorrow as well, if you want to watch any of that back. Before I hand over to Jordan, just to say we've got the chat open, which lots of you have already found. Do put your questions and comments in the chat during the session today. I'll be in there trying to answer some of those questions, and I'll also put those questions to Jordan towards the end of the webinar. Yeah, so Jordan, over to you, and enjoy, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. So the community also includes an entire course dedicated to dashboards and basic theming. So I'd really recommend that if you want to learn a bit more about dashboards after this webinar, since this webinar will be a bit more introductory, and that course is a little bit more advanced if you want to find out some more. And as Rachel mentioned, for those of you who can't stick around for the full webinar, this session is being recorded, and there will be a link posted in the community tomorrow if you do want to refer back to it at any point. So what we're going to cover in this webinar, I'll start off by telling you what a dashboard is and showing you a few different examples of what a dashboard could look like. We'll then take a look at what content and blocks can be added to the dashboard. We'll then look at how we can create dashboards for different groups of users in your organization. Then I'll cover the differences between a front page and a dashboard in your community site. And finally, I'll show you how you could use a user tour to show users around your new dashboard. So, what is a dashboard? Dashboards in Totara usually act as the landing pages of your site and will be the first page your user sees after logging in. So it's important to spend some time building your dashboards so that you can make a good first impression to your learners. You might have seen this dashboard after logging into the Totara community. Dashboards are made up of blocks, which you can use different combinations of blocks to create your dashboards. I think there's about 50 different block types you can choose from in a standard install of Totara. So there really are limitless possibilities for the layout of your dashboard. Users can also have access to more than one dashboard. For example, in the Totara community, you also have access to the My Dashboard page in the main menu. My Dashboard is a fully customizable dashboard where you can add, edit, and remove blocks to fully customize this page. If you want to edit this page yourself, find the page in the community using the main menu. And then in the top right, you can choose to customize this page. And as I said, you can add any blocks you want here, try out different layouts. You might want to have a go at adding different block types before you try it on your own site. You could choose to display different dashboards on your site to different groups of users. For example, you might want to display a different landing page for managers on your site, which gives them a view of key reports showing their team members' progress. Or you might have a different dashboard for trainers on your site, which shows them an overview of all the courses which they run. Before we take a look at how you can create role-related dashboards, let's first take a look at how to add blocks to create your dashboard. To get started, turn editing on in your Totara dashboard. Blocks can be added to 5 different regions on your dashboard: the top, left, center, right, and bottom. Click on a plus icon to add a block to that region. As I said, there's around 50 different block types you can choose from. In this webinar, I don't have time to go through all 50, so I'm just going to take a closer look at 5 different block types. So to start off with, the HTML block can let you add text, graphics, or HTML style content to your dashboard. In the community, we use this in a few different places, such as this block here, which provides links to other areas of the site. And we've also used it here in this top section, which we've used to create a banner. HTML block's really flexible, and you can also use it to embed media content, such as YouTube videos. And we've even used the HTML block to embed a HubSpot form, which lets users sign up to our weekly webinar. As well as the HTML block, another really useful block is the featured links block. The featured links blocks lets you create tiles which can be linked to from different places in your site. In the community site dashboard, we have a featured links block which lets users link to a pre-filtered version of a catalog showing just version 17 courses. You can also set visibility restrictions on featured links tiles to make them visible only to a certain audience or group of users. For example, users in our partner audience can see a block here that links partner users to resources designed for them. On your own site, you might have a tile which you only want to show to managers on your site, or to trainers, or to maybe a block highlighting a beginner's course, which you only want to show to new users. You can also use featured links blocks to link directly to courses on your site. If you use the course tile in a featured links block, then you can also enable a progress bar, which lets users see their progress in a course. If you have enrolled in any of our Academy programs, you might have spotted that the program page we use is actually a dashboard. We use a number of featured links tiles here to let learners access courses in the program, as well as using tiles to link to the program feedback, and also the certificate tile you can see on the left. The certificate tile has its visibility limited, so only users who have completed the program and are then enrolled in an audience can see that tile. Another really useful block is the current learning block, which you can see in the middle of this dashboard. This gives users a view of their progress in all of the courses they have enrolled in the site. You have 2 main options for how this block is displayed in your site. You can use a tiled layout, which you can see here, or you can choose a list view instead. You might have noticed this block in the community site, which displays a new Totara tip every day. This block is the random glossary block, which is tied to a glossary activity on our site. Each tip you see in this block is an entry in the glossary. If you want, why not have a go and see if you can add one of your own tips to this glossary block by clicking the suggested tip button. We also use this block type in December every year to create the community advent calendar. I mentioned earlier that you could choose to display different dashboards for the managers or trainers in your site. If you choose to do this, then you might want to use the report block to surface key reports to those users. For example, managers might need to see how many courses their users have completed. Depending on how your report is set up, you might also have a graph attached to it, in which case you could also use the graphical report block. So you can have a go at adding most of these block types to your My Dashboard page in the community. Here you can also have a go at trying out different layouts, have a go at maybe removing all of the blocks on either the left or right region and see what happens to blocks in the center region of the page. If you want to take a closer look at more block types, I'd recommend you check out one of our courses in the community called Core Plugins and Configurable Features. In this course, there's an interactive video which gives you a closer look at lots more block types and shows you how to set them up in your own Totara site. I mentioned earlier how you could have different dashboards for different groups of users. So how do you decide what users see which dashboard in Totara? To start, navigate to the Manage Dashboards page in your site. You can see here that I have a number of different dashboards on my test site. I want to make the manager dashboard visible to only managers on my site. To do this, I'll go to the settings page for this dashboard. And say that users should only be able to access this dashboard if they're in my leadership audience. And save my changes. This dashboard is now only available to users in the leadership audience. But what happens if a user is assigned to more than one dashboard on your site? How do you decide which one a user will see as their default homepage when they access the site? So this Manage Dashboards page lets you set the hierarchy of dashboards on your site. The default dashboard for users on your site will be the highest dashboard on the list that is available to them. So if I move the Manager dashboard to the top, then users in my leadership audience will see this dashboard when they log in. Users not in this audience will see the homepage instead, since this is the highest dashboard on the list that is visible to them. Using dynamic audiences with audience dashboards opens up a lot of possibilities here. You could choose to create a dashboard for maybe experienced users who have completed a program or certification on your site, or use the job assignment and audience membership rules to assign dashboards to people in certain roles in your site. You might not always need to create a separate dashboard for each audience. Having multiple dashboards for every single role in your site can be quite hard to maintain. So sometimes you might be able to achieve what you need instead with featured links blocks and using their visibility restrictions to surface content to users. So users in your management audience might be shown a link to a project management course, or someone with a new account might be shown the new starter program instead. As well as dashboards, your Totara site will also have a front page. A front page is slightly different to a dashboard. This is the page that is visible to users when first accessing your site before logging in. Sorry about that. The front page is a hybrid between a dashboard and a course page, meaning that as well as adding blocks to this page, you can also add course activities. To navigate to the front page of your site, enter $redirect equals 0 after your site URL. On the front page, if you want to add activities to this page, you can turn editing on and then add activities like you normally would in a course. If you want to, you can also choose to disable this and add blocks here instead of activities. Finally, let's see how you could use user tours to help users learn to navigate their way around your dashboard. Since the dashboard is the first page your users see, a user tour can be really helpful to get your users orientated. On the community site, you will have seen this user tour after logging in for the first time. This tour points out a few areas of the page, such as blocks and main menu items. So, how can you set this up in your own site? To start, go to the Site Admin menu and select Development. Then, in the admin block on the left, select Experimental and then User Tours. I'll choose to create a new user tour. I'll give it a name. Then I need to choose the URL of the dashboard I want to apply it to. User tours can be applied to any pages in your Totara site, and you can find the URLs to some useful pages here. This URL means that the user tour will be applied on any dashboard of my Totara site. I'll enable this user tour, although normally you would want to wait until you have added all of your steps before making the tour available. I'll save so that I can start adding steps. Then I'll select my user tour and choose to add a new step. You could choose to apply a step to a block on your dashboard. To do this, choose a block as your target type, and then select the block from this list. But if you have multiple blocks from one block type, for example, if I had 3 featured links blocks, then I'll need to select a different method of targeting the blocks. For this, we can use the CSS selector as the target type. To find the CSS selector you need, open the developer console on your dashboard. I'm using Google Chrome in this demo, but the process is similar across most browsers. I'll scroll down to find the block which I want to identify. In this example, I want to point out the last course access block on the left. I'll choose to inspect element and then position my mouse so that it highlights the entire block. When I click, you'll see that a small amount of code has been highlighted in the developer console on the right. I'll right-click on this, choose copy, and then copy selector. Now, when I go back to my user tool, I can paste in my copy selector. I'll enter a title for my step and a short description of the block. If you wanted to, you could also use HTML in this box to format the text, or maybe add a hyperlink. I can also customize a few other settings here, including where the pop-up appears in relation to my block. I'll save and go to my dashboard so we can see how this looks. If you want to find out a bit more about using user tools, there's a demo video as part of the dashboards and basic theming course, which goes into a bit more detail about how to set up your user tools. So that brings us to the end of this part of the webinar. Does anyone have any questions yet?
I've got a couple of questions for you from the chat, Jordan, already. The first one was about the current learning block. So where the tiles appear in the current learning block, it said course at the bottom, which I think is telling the user that that's a course, not a program or certification. Do you know if that text can be edited?
Good question.
It's always good to have a tricky one first, isn't it?
You know what? Let me bring up one of my sites. Let's quickly log in. I'm not sure if that's a custom field that we've added or whether that's something that is part of a standard install in Totara. So just to make sure I understand the question.
Yeah,
So
where
it's about
it says
this
course
bit
there.
here.
Yeah, that one. We can answer it in the community later.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
have to
not
get back to
sure.
you on that one because I'm sort of 50-50 whether it's a default field or whether it's a custom field that we've added. But if it is a default field, then it is something which you will be able to edit through the language pack on your Totara site.
Yeah, so either way, it would be editable because either it will be a custom field or it will be something that you could edit in the language pack.
Yes.
Oh, Winford's saying no, it's not in the language pack.
Not in the
We'll have
language.
a look into it.
Okay.
And maybe it is a custom field we've added, and we'll post the answer in the community alongside the recording, Winford. No worries. And the other question that we've got was about the block that's showing the form that's coming from HubSpot.
Yes.
And whether that is restricted to a different version and how that's being done. That's using an HTML block, right?
It's using the HTML block. So on HubSpot, we've generated the embed code, sort of like when you go to YouTube and you click share, you can generate some embed code for that, and it's sort of a similar process for the HubSpot form. And you can just paste that into your HTML block, and then it will show the form. You might need to customize the HTML a little bit to get it looking nice, but it is possible.
What kind of customizations might people need to do there, just for example?
Say maybe like adjusting the padding slightly, or adjusting the width.
It look nicer.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's much easier than it sounded. Brilliant. And Rick saying, are the HubSpot form versions that support it? I guess the HTML block is in all versions of Totara that I know of, certainly all the ones that are supported.
Yeah,
Do you know of any limitation?
we've had that form on the community site since about version 15, I think.
But I would imagine
But
we can double check this, but if it's using the HTML block, presumably that works the same way. But we'll double check and post that answer in the community as well. Lovely. Right, those are the two questions that I had noted. Before we wrap up, do feel free to post any further questions in the chat quickly. I feel like I've learned some things today. Hopefully everyone else has as well. So as we said, the recording of this will be shared in the community in our webinars on demand shortly. If you're not familiar with our webinars on demand catalogue, we've got all of our past webinars in there. You'll see Jordan's face in there a couple of times, but we've also got some really great webinars from customers who've come and talked about their Totara implementations, from other members of the Totara team talking about specific features. So do have a look around there if you're not familiar with it. I think we've just got another. Are there any other types of add-ons similar to HubSpot? I mean, I guess it's not necessarily really an add-on, Jordan, it's just an embed code. So YouTube is another example of something that you could use in that way.
Yeah, so any website that lets you embed something as HTML, you might be able to use in the HTML block.
And Rick's saying we have around 100,000 user accounts. If we want to make a dashboard for all users, what are the best options?
That's a lot of users.
And the follow-up was, do we have to enroll them as an audience?
No, so one option you have when you're setting up a dashboard is to make it available to all users on your site. So yeah, just think about what blocks are going to be useful to all users. And if you don't want to have different dashboards for different groups of users and you just want to have one single dashboard, then maybe think about using the featured links block to surface different content to those audiences.
So then you're having basically one dashboard which is just made available to everybody, but you can change the visibility of the featured links blocks depending on who they are, and that can be done based on audience.
Yes, there's less duplication of effort. So rather than having two dashboards which are nearly identical, you just have one with one block that's showing different content to different groups of users.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Rick? Hopefully. Says yes, thanks. Great. Right, we'll just give a couple of seconds in case there are any other questions. But yeah, do come and join us and continue this conversation. Jordan is literally in the community all day, every day. So we can definitely get you a hopefully relatively quick response to any follow-up questions. You can comment on resources in the webinars on demand catalogue, so that's a good place to post your questions. You can also @tag Jordan and I so that we definitely see the question or see any comments that people have got, and @tag each other too if you want to. Right, it doesn't look like we've got any other questions, so thanks Jordan for a really useful session. Thanks everyone for joining us, and yeah, we hope to see you in the community. Remember, you can sign up totara.community. You can also get in touch with us if you had an individual question or a problem with something that you couldn't post there on community@totara.com. And thanks very much for the compliment there, Lee, as well. We'll take it. Lovely. Thanks all. Have a really great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.